Hello everyone. So today let us take a look at this question on the community, and this question is actually related to the not only the reports, although the title here says automate Jira reports, but the main requirement here is that Edwin is trying to send some emails based on some criteria. So let us look at this question, and I'll try to answer and suggest what we can do. Now the first point here is that if the user creates an item without a due date, then the user should receive a notification. So there are a couple of ways of doing it. I mean, what you can do is you can always go to your Jira instance and search for the issues based on missing due date and of course the creation date. So basically, you don't really want to do this if you're doing, let us say, some kind of automation. I mean, the simple thing that we can do here is that we can simply write one JQL, something like this, where you can type in due date is empty, and then of course the reporter is the current user. So you can actually create this subscription, and then you can send this email by configuring the filter subscription. So let me show you. So you can do something like due is not equal to empty. So let me first search for the issues where due date is indeed filled in. Oh yes, this is filled in. So let us say due is empty, and creator, or not creator, reporter is the current user. So let us search for the issue. So I'm sure there are a lot of issues where the reporter is me and the due date is still not filled in. So what you can do is you can actually save it as a filter. So due date empty current user, and when you submit it, you can then go to the details, and then you can see that there is something called a subscription. You can then configure the subscription. And by the way, this particular question is on Jira Cloud. So on Jira Cloud, what you can do is you can actually have a personal subscription, or you can actually send this to maybe a group. So maybe so this is of course something that you have to think about. If you have a group, then this will work perfectly fine, and maybe you can schedule this to run every day at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is definitely too early. So maybe 8 o'clock, and subscribe, right? So I will not do it because, or maybe I'll do it. Why not? I'll probably receive emails. And so this is of course one thing. So if you look at the other question, so if the user creates an item without assigning it to someone, it's the same thing. Basically, you can do something like assign is equal to unassigned, and maybe reporter is current user, and then you can do the same thing. For both missing due date and missing assignee are daily, weekly email. So basically, again, we're talking about two fields instead of one. And if the due date expires, then reporter should receive a notification. So yeah, you can do that again by creating a filter based on due date. And due date is in the past, and it happens a lot that our team puts an item on client approval, and we ask the client for approval. And because they don't approve, we actually want to automatically approve something. So basically, we are talking about automatic transition. So apart from filter subscription, what you can also do, you can also write, you can go to the automation rules, and you can also create a rule to do something on a regular basis, like a scheduled rule. And you can actually use JQL, the same JQL. And I'm sure I have something like scheduled transition. So this is something that you can do. So this particular rule will run every day, 9 o'clock, and then it will basically look for the issues based on this JQL. So it could be any JQL, and then it can transition the issue. So basically it will automatically maybe close it or whatever you want to do. You can also do something like send an email. So if you select here send email, you can then of course send an email. And in this email, you can actually select here, I believe, different fields that you may have available. For example, you can use smart values to fetch the reporter, and this is something that is, I guess, going to work really well. And at the same time, you can then send this email with whatever content that you may want. And this is, of course, a very simple thing. And if you want to fetch the email address of the reporter, I recommend you to look at the documentation of smart values. So let us look at this particular page. Let me search for reporter. So maybe email address. I think I need to go to maybe one of the other page. So find a smart value. Let us look at this one. Learn more about smart values. I'm just trying to find the smart value for maybe the email address. So I'm sure there is something, right? Yep, something like this. So you can always use like email address, which is going to work on almost any kind of user-based field. I believe it should work. Maybe for reporter. So reporter dot. Do we have reporter dot email address? There should be, I guess. So this is going to work definitely, and you don't really need to use an app. I mean, you can do most of these things by simply using your native JQL and creating a filter subscription, and at the same time creating these rules. And by the way, yep, if you want to learn these things, by the way, if you want to really master how these things work, I have free courses. And by the way, subscribe to my channel. I mean, and go to my playlist. I have different playlists on automation rules and various things, wonderful things that you can do with Jira. And talking about automation, so you can look at my playlist, Mastering Jira Cloud Automation. Here you can find a lot of wonderful examples. So do take a look at this playlist or this free course, free but proper course, and you can then hopefully understand a lot of these good things that you can do without using an app in Jira. And apart from these things that you can do within Jira by using the native features, there are apps that you can use for taking these customizations further. Because you're on cloud, I would say you can take a look at Script Runner for Jira, because you can write code, and when you can write code, you can actually implement a bit complex business logic in your code. And talking about reporting, because your title says reporting, my all-time favorite app is EasyBI. And if you want to learn EasyBI or Script Runner for Jira, I have proper courses on these topics. So do take a look at. And by the way, talking about Script Runner, the course that I have is on cloud. Even for EasyBI, I'm using cloud version of EasyBI, so you should be able to relate to it. So that is all. That is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much. Bye bye.